when I separate from my business, I rarely solve the problem looking at the problem. Aha moment comes and hits you in the face.
Being exposed to art is a great way to inspire creativity in business. And so that's why Silicon Valley blew up. Lots of art.
Mike, man, tell me about these silver pants I saw you wearing.
How much time do I waste in some type of fantasy? It's a habit that keeps us distracted from moving forward.
Anyone who's listening who is an entrepreneur, you likely feel out of place in default world. You don't fit comfortably in that square peg.
The Law of Impermanence. Some of the greatest art pieces that are out there, they end up burning them by the end of the week. Welcome to the Full Stack Podcast. I'm Mike Bledsoe. The world is changing faster than ever. The systems are collapsing, the rules are being rewritten, and certainty is disappearing. The question isn't how do we survive it? It's who do we become through it? This is your field guide for living the full stack life. Integrated, adaptive, and sovereign by design. Join the movement and gain free access to the Full Stack School community at bledsoe.life. This isn't the end of an era. It's the rise of a new kind of individual. You're not alone. You're early. Stay stacked. If this episode resonates, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a friend.
Mike, man, tell me about these silver pants I saw you wearing.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I like went to a different dimension for a whole week. So Burning
Welcome
Man.
back.
What I'm curious because, we all live in our own social media bubbles. And I remember I was reading about Burning Man in like the mid 2000s. I was getting out of the Navy and I was like, that sounds like something fun, like I was into like weird, like novel things. Like I definitely seek novelty out. I remember thinking like, oh, I missed Woodstock. I remember learning about Woodstock like in high school and be like, oh, I missed that. And then like, it's like, oh no, like Burning Man is our version of that, our generation's version of that in a way. And so I'm curious. I'm in a bubble. Like we all live in our own social media bubbles.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like we create these little bubbles. I'm curious, what is Burning Man on your social media feed? Because on my social media feed, I'm seeing a certain type of post about it.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm the only one on social media that you see that's got Burning Man stuff going on. You tell me.
No, I'd say in recent years, as my circle's expanded, or not necessarily expanded, has changed a bit. I've seen more clips and images of it, folks that I've had on the podcast, folks that I've encountered going and attending Burning Man. I've always looked at Burning Man from a curious distance. My knowledge of it is very very minimal. But from a distance, I don't even know the nuance of it. And my wife asked me about it. She's like, what is Burning Man? Because while you were there, I told my wife, I was like, babe, do you want to go to Burning Man with me? And so the distant curiosity has now turned to intrigue, right? You first had my interest, now you have my attention. Now my intention is to attend because of that curiosity, but I see it from a distance of eclectic art, clash of cultures. I understand more of the retreat aspect of it, and I know that there's a whole bunch of subsects, right? There's folks who go out there probably just to camp out, do and just trip for a whole weekend. I also understand from the folks that I've encountered that I know personally who go, it's more of like a spiritual retreat. They come back renewed and different. So I feel as though the best way I could describe it from a distance looking at it is a sandbox built with tools which will serve the purpose in which you go for. So if you're going to go have a party and messed up time, you're going to get that. If you're going for spiritual renewal and expansion, you're going to get that. And the sandbox provides all that. That's my, I would say, my ignorant perspective of Burning Man from a distance.
Wow, I mean, that sounds really good. Well said. The same thing can be said for like a lot of people who get in this. It's like you can make it whatever you want. It can turn into a really terrible time. It can be a wonderful time. Whatever your intention is, it'll show up in ways you didn't anticipate. So yeah, okay, cool. Because I'm on my feed, like when I came back out, I've been swimming in like the quote unquote spiritual community, which we can talk about that at some other time. Sometimes like the spiritual community is not all that spiritual, and yeah, that's like a whole podcast.
How much time we got?
Yeah, but in my feed, like a lot of people were uh, talking bad about it, like, oh, it's like this satanic ritual, or it's like overly hedonistic, and yeah, there can be some dark themes there. You know, you can wander off into a camp and find something dark. You can It can be very hedonistic, like you can just be like pursuing pleasure the whole time through and all these different. It's available. But I did write an article about it. I don't know if you got to read it. I
I
posted
did.
the article. Okay, cool. I posted that on on my blog bledsoe.life. And yeah, you know, you make it whatever you want it to be, and it's just amplified. It amplifies, makes everything really loud. Like if you
Mhm.
want to find something and you're in your hometown, you may have a hard time finding that thing. At Burning Man, they've got they got a sign up, you know, that says this is what you're looking for. And so
Yeah.
I had a really beautiful time. It is my 7th year. I've been attending for 11 years, so I've gone 7 out of the last 11 years, and it is really cool to just. I feel like the old guy now. You know, in my camp, there's 20 of us in our camp. 3 of us had done 7 years, and most everyone else, it was like they had done less than 3 years. A lot of them were at their first year. I was like, oh yeah, I'm like the OG, like showing them how to do it. Like these are where the cool parties are at. Like not every camp is the same. This is how you want to schedule out your week because you're not going to see it all. Yeah, so like one of the big lessons that like some of the big lessons I got out of Burning Man over the years, and just you know I keep going back and it's a reminder, is like one is you're going if you have a the potential to experience FOMO in any way, even if you go and try to do it all, you're still going to experience FOMO because you won't see it all. You'll talk to somebody afterwards and they'll go, "Did you see so and so or that thing?" No, you didn't. There's so much epic stuff happening all at once. So you learn how to like just accept that you didn't get to have the somewhat whatever experience. And the other one is the law of impermanence, and that is it's which in Buddhism is called anicca. And anicca is the law of impermanence. So that means that everything is always changing it all the time.
Hmm.
In Vipassana, which is a meditation technique, you get to notice like at the most vibrational atomic level that energy and frequency and the atoms are always in some type of constant flux. And then that really gives you this perspective of the law of impermanence. And on the playa and at Burning Man, it's the opposite. Like it's so overstimulating and everything's changing on the external that you kind of have to accept this is all change. And then some of the greatest art pieces that are out there, they end up burning them by the end of the week. So it's like, wow, this person like these people dedicated maybe the entire year leading up to Burning Man to make this piece, and then poof, just up in flames.
Wow.
So the law of impermanence. And so on one hand, you could interpret, you could look at we burn this beautiful piece of art and it notice like the law of impermanence is real, which is a very spiritual concept. But then like I can go on to my Instagram and someone else is saying like it's a false god and like there's a sacrifice and there's a sacrifice of this piece to a false god or something like that. And it's like, yeah, there might have been somebody out in the crowd saying, "This is my God," and like, you know, this is our
Yeah.
sacrifice. And then, you know, I'm standing there like, oh, the law of impermanence. You know, even the
It's,
beauty is going to be recycled.
it sounds like I get a few things from that, right? One thing I think of when you mention the overstimulation of it, I feel like Coco Melon for adults, where like it's just there and
Oh
it's
yeah,
changing, it's bang, bang, bang. But I also, and to credit your blog, when I read it, I love how you related it to such as life, because I feel as though life itself is a mirror in terms of the things that we seek and the things we look for. We end up getting what we emit, we attract. And when you go into a container like Burning Man, which is, like you mentioned, the big sign is available, what you're looking for, you're going to find. That only enhances more of the experience. It enhances that mirror. It takes it from a 720 to a 4K image of boom, this is what you're looking for. But I also, if you notice when I described it, I mentioned the curiosity and the ignorance from afar, because I can understand the social media feed. I see the burning statues, I see the burning artwork. I don't know whether or not there was a ritual in the process, and of that ritual, I don't know of the people in attendance and what their intention was. So there's a lot of projection, I feel, of what people interpret Burning Man to be, who might have never been, who only know it through the pictures, the social media feeds, and what they've read and what they've seen, or even from the limited sphere of the people I know that have gone. A majority of them are going for spiritual renewal. It's a spiritual retreat. So while I could read online headlines about the drug induced experiences for folks, that's not my circle. That's not the people that I encounter that go there for that. And I can see how, for those who don't fully embrace or even consider experiencing it themselves, that's why I asked my wife, because I'm like, I don't. I've seen enough of Burning Man to know I want to try it for myself to see what it's all about. Because before I get the conclusion of it, I'll speak to someone like you who's been there 7 out of the last 11 years, and you can give me more of those insights. Which now I know, no matter how attentive I am, I can't do it all. And even the concept of camps, I didn't know how that worked. Were you there the year with the big rain and the deluge and the mud that came
No,
down?
I actually skipped that year.
Ooh.
And what's funny is we got it this year. Like the first 3 days of the burn, there was rain, so I got in a little late, and I ended up just hanging out in my RV the first night. It was the first Burning Man where I got in and I got a full night's rest. It was really nice.
Yeah. How does Burning Man serve you outside of Burning Man? What does that do for you in terms of, like, we're talking full stack update here, right? In terms of these four areas of life, whether it's purpose, relationships, business, or even just how you approach your sovereignty. How does Burning Man feed that?
Every time I unlock more creativity. I come out, and even if I'm not aware of the creative activation that's happening out there, it's like when I come back to what's called the default world. That's at Burning Man. That's what we call this. And so I come back to the default world, and all of a sudden I'm just like, there's a huge creative spark. Not necessarily like maybe some inspiration, but actually I got my brain got out of the box, because that's Burning Man is it's breaking so many cultural norms that we don't realize how much our society and cultural norms are shaping our thought patterns. And so then now I go into this arena and I come out, and my thought patterns they've got more room. They move outside the box. And then I started having, like, last week I had a really big epiphany. The week after getting out of Burning Man, I had a really big I spent the weekend working on it. A big epiphany around how consciousness works, like an upgrade in my philosophy around consciousness. And I started mapping it out, which I'm really excited to present that. I have a new upgrade to my presentation on how human development and consciousness works. And it was something that happened days later. I wasn't thinking about consciousness when I was out on the playa. I was just having fun and doing my thing and experiencing things. And I come back and I have that. And so always bring back some type of, and that's my creative outlet. Like, I like to write and I like to speak, and using words to describe things is like my art in a way. So I really get inspired there. And so that's one thing I bring back. uh I also have, over the years, have become way less strict with my schedule,
Mm-hmm.
because out there, schedule, like, as the week progresses, the schedule means less and less, and there's a lot more flow. And so Burning Man has helped me become a lot less rigid. The other thing is I'm I'm much more comfortable dressing in a more expressive way, like
Silver pants.
silver pants. It's like, it's kind of funny because when you get out there, if you're not dressed to some extreme, like, now you're like now you stand out for not like, for wearing anything that's normal. And
Yeah.
so I find that I can now, I now have like a social circle of people who are like Burning Man friendly or are burners, and people have gatherings, and like it's like everyone's a little more expressive. They're not going full Burning Man garb, but I noticed like if I would have worn what I would wear today, like just stop at the store, like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with some friends, I'm gonna wear something fun, like, and if I stop at a store, I don't mind if people look at me weird. It's not
Yeah.
it's not even a thing for me. Whereas 15 years ago, like if I wore anything that was outside of the norm, I would have like felt really insecure about it. And so there's a bit of that as well. And so just like this is a realizing that people actually don't give a shit about how you look most of the time.
I feel like that's such a great lesson when it comes to business and sovereignty, because for those who dare to do something bold in the world, for those who create something, a lot of entrepreneurs who are bringing something into the world that hasn't existed, you go against social norms, or you identify something in society that just doesn't quite fit to you. And Burning Man is like the island of misfits, where you find your people, and then when you go back to society, or what was the term you used for normal world?
Default world.
Default world. You go back to default world. Anyone who's listening who is an entrepreneur, you likely feel out of place in default world. You don't fit comfortably in that square peg, right? So that's also a reinforcement of your unique expression, bringing something unique into the default world, into this society that hasn't quite been there yet. And your competitive edge is that uniqueness. And also, let's call it a soul shower, right? Because for me, when I separate from my business, I rarely solve the problem looking at the problem or spending time with the problem. It's
No, thinking about the problem is hardly ever a good way of going about it.
never, never. But when I'm on a hike, when I'm in the shower, when I'm just hanging out with my wife, it's when the aha moment comes and hits you in the face. So going to Burning Man, as you mentioned, that increase in creativity and expression, that is a way to completely reset and find that creative edge, find that uniqueness, and reinforce the eclectic, enigmatic self that sometimes could be so hard to fit in, because this default world will look at you, judge you. They'll look at you sideways for walking at the gas station with silver pants, but you find yourself with my people, my people.
Yeah.
And that's what helps you even excel when it comes to your business and your sovereignty, when you embrace that and don't fight that.
Yeah. So even if someone's not going to Burning Man, there's things that I can share that are useful. So Burning Man was started by a bunch of artists. It wasn't a bunch of entrepreneurs that got together and were like, let's start doing this Burning Man thing. And I've actually met a lot of the leadership and the people who started it there in the beginning, and they didn't have a grand plan. They didn't want to grow the thing. They just got together once a year. That was, it was a 3-day event when it started. Now it's, it's a week, and then people show up a week before and stay a week late, and that's common now. And so it went from like 3 days to 3 weeks. So, but what I've noticed that's happened is we can take Silicon Valley as an example of, which is like tech entrepreneurship. These are the people who are like really making some of the biggest impact on the planet right now. And they happen to there's a convergence of things that happen that allow tech to start to thrive in the Bay Area. But also Burning Man was happening in the Bay Area, and a lot of artists, from the 60s and the 70s, there was a lot of art. And entrepreneurs are drawn to art. Like somebody who's doing, not all entrepreneurs, I'll put two different categories. You have business owners, and then you have entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are looking to create something. There's a lot of innovation that's happening at a macro level. There's always innovation that needs to be happening at a micro level for a business owner. But for somebody who really identifies as an entrepreneur, we really want to be innovative. Like, I want to do something new. I see a problem that hasn't been solved in the world yet, and I want to solve it in this very unique way. And being exposed to art is a great way to inspire creativity in business. And so that's why Silicon Valley blew up. That's one of the contributors. I've broken it down before, but we'll do that maybe on another show too. But they're attracted to that, and then everyone moved to Austin. A lot of tech moved to Austin. What does Austin have? Lots of art.
Yep.
Like, I've been going to Austin since 2013. And in 2013, I walked in and I go, wow, what a hipster scene. A lot of graffiti, like beautiful graffiti in the city, and a lot of music. And so if you're an entrepreneur or business owner, because we all need to be innovative in some way, you don't need to go to Burning Man, but you expose yourself to great art and something that's new and different. Don't go to Taylor Swift concert because that's so mainstream. Go find that off the beat musician that's a little weird. Go to that concert. Go to an art show where it's featuring some of the most innovative art. Go enjoy that. And so Burning Man is just a really big concentration of that. And that's why a lot of entrepreneurs make a commitment to going there, because they do leave with a lot more creativity that impacts their business, which then impacts clients in the whole world. Yeah. So it's pretty powerful in that way.
No, I love that. And when it comes to like concerts, my wife and I love the intimate settings, those small settings with an artist who barely has been picked up yet. No one really knows. And you're there and you're just like, how am I experiencing this close? Like, I get to speak to the artist afterwards, shake their hand, like those. And I guarantee there's a small venue where these artists, they go travel around and they'll play, and you get a ticket for like $30, and it's one of the best experiences you'll ever have. And it's intimate and it's perfect, and you get your hands on. But I'm also curious about the health and vitality aspect, because how do you get your nutrients at Burning Man? I don't know how you properly survive.
You got to be on point. You got to be on point, because I don't go there to get healthy. That's for sure. But I do train for it, right? And so, you can train for anything. Yeah. And so I want to go into Burning Man as healthy as possible, because I know that I'm going to have late nights. My circadian rhythm's going to be just totally blown up. And because I'm going to have late nights, I'm around a lot of lights and music and stimulation, and all that's thrown off. So we prep all of our meals before going in. I use a lot of adaptogens. I supplement heavily while I'm there. And I use earplugs, and I black out my RV. Nice. So I take every window and I black it out. And so the moment the lights go out, it turns into a cave. There are camps some of my friends were in a camp that they had a sauna, cold plunge, and a gym. And you could go work out. You could do that. There are people who run ultra marathon there. They run around the playa, 31, 32 miles. You can do Burning Man however you want. I definitely don't come out healthier. You can hear I've got a sniffly nose right now. Every time I come out, it takes about a week for my sleep to recover my sleep debt. And you're not going to get healthier while you're there. You're unlikely. And then you're inhaling dust. The dust is really fine. But when I come out, I become, you might become more aware of that. Plus, one of the things that Burning Man has that isn't talked about a lot is there's a lot of workshops from the world's leading experts on something. Like, I walked into a workshop once. It was led by the woman who wrote the book on tapping. She's been doing tapping it's probably like 30 years now, but it's 25 years at the time. And I got to sit in a 2-hour tapping workshop that normally people would drop thousands of dollars on to be in this workshop. And it's there just for free. Obviously Burning Man is not cheap to attend in general, but you can pick and choose. And so there's workshops where you can learn about health and vitality. You can learn about mindset. You can learn about psychology. You can learn about relationships. And so if you want, you can the first 2 years I was at Burning Man, I just workshop hopped. I would try to
Yeah.
find these workshops, and I was like, "There's a relationship workshop. There's a." I was already in so much health and biohacking, I wasn't really paying attention to it, but that's there too. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, whatever you want it to be, it's going to be there.
Yeah. While you're inhaling dust, I'm over here training for a high rocks race, and I picked up on the
Yeah,
running. I know we talked about with my heart rate, my resting heart rate being so high. You recommended long, slow paced runs. I'm actually picking up my pace. I ran a 5K in like 28 minutes yesterday, which is good for me. It's good for
nice.
me. But I feel like for those ultra marathon runners running the 31 plus miles, inhaling that dust, that's got to be beastly. And that probably helps them. If you could run 31 miles in the dust, you probably could run 50 miles in some clear, fresh air. So that's training in itself.
Yeah, and it's the playa is at 4,000 feet elevation. So I
Yeah.
actually I come to Tahoe 2 weeks beforehand at 6,500 feet elevation, acclimate, then go down, and I come back. I also use a Navage while I'm there. I use a Navage all the time anyway, but it's like a neti pot on steroids. You put these two plugs in your nose and you hit a button, and it basically shoots water through your whole sinus cavity and just flushes it out.
Let's go. I'm going to get one of those. My wife will
A
tell you
lot
you
of
need a
tricks. There's a
Navas.
lot of tricks out there. I got a bunch of them.
Yeah, but I'm training for the high rocks. That's my health and vitality, and I'm picking up on the running and maintaining muscle as much as I can. Fueling my body is really important along the way because I was losing muscle drastically, but I wasn't eating enough protein to maintain my muscle or enough carbs to process the protein. So I've made some adjustments in my diet there, starting to fuel myself more efficiently.
How'd you
Um,
find that out? Was that blood work or what?
my Muay Thai coach. I told him I was losing, I was losing muscle, and he's like, "You're not eating enough protein." I said, "Oh," so
Oh,
I
how
took his
much
word
protein were
for
you
it.
eating, and what did you update to? How much were you eating?
So,
How much are you eating now?
my issue is I wasn't planning my meals. I wasn't effectively planning them. So I honestly was probably getting 50 to 60 grams of protein. Not enough for someone
That's
who's
definitely not
running
enough to
a
train and
180 pound.
maintain.
Yeah.
What do you
So
weigh? You weigh
I'm
180?
180. Well, now I'm
Oh, okay.
176 since I started running.
Uh
Um,
huh.
leveled at that. Lean about 150, so I'm aiming for 150 to 155 grams of protein each day. I go to Costco, I get the big pack of salmon, that big thing of salmon. I'll bake that. My wife and I'll do the lean beef with tacos. I'll do chicken, asparagus, and rice. We'll meal prep that, and that's really helped. As well as I have carnivore based protein that I'm drinking right after my workout right now. So that's helped me get to about 140 to 150 grams of protein.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Are you're training? You're not training first thing in the morning. You're training later in the day.
I'm training mid afternoon, really, 12:30
Okay.
to 1 o'clock. I wake up at 2:30, so that's the end of my
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I do is while I'm training, like right before and while I'm training, I drink Perfect Aminos, which is an essential aminos blend. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Brecka, but
Yes.
yeah, he's got great products. I drink that right before I start sipping on it right before, and I drink it during, and that helps reduce muscle breakdown. A lot of people will drink that first thing in the morning because uh, just to reduce the window of catabolism. So catabolism is the breakdown of tissue, or
Mhm.
it's the breakdown side of metabolism. And then so you can reduce how much is being broken down. So I like using amino acids. I find that my training improves when I'm using amino acids right before and during my training. And it's a great way to get more protein and high quality protein into the
Yeah.
diet. You know, but it sounds
Love
like you're
it.
right on point. I
Yeah. I
I try to
crush a lot of
stay.
coconut water.
I aim for 200 grams. I'm 170. I aim for 200 grams of protein a day, and I probably get somewhere between 150 and 200. So if I aim for 200, I'll, like shoot for the moon, you'll hit the star or something like that.
Yeah, even if you miss, you land amongst the stars. How transition over to the relationship piece and presence, because my wife has been huge in helping me with the meal prep, and for the runs I've incorporated a lot more runs, and there's a run club here every week. It started with, hey babe, let's go get the baby ice cream. And while we went to ice cream, because where it's held is where the run club is, there's an ice cream shop. I went and just watched the run club, and the next week I went for a run. 4 weeks in, she goes for the walks, now power walking. We bought a running stroller, and yesterday she went for the run while I went for a run. For 3 miles, she did one. So she's really embraced this new lifestyle, and I've signed up for 5Ks, and it's something that while I am training, I've integrated the family aspect to it. So now we're starting to become a family of runners, which is exciting. But from Burning Man to health and vitality, I know you were there with your wife and enjoying the whole experience. How has your relationship progressed from Burning Man and doing all these experiences together?
Burning Man can be hard on a relationship and requires extra attention because, and there's several different reasons, but one of them is there's just so much happening, and so it's easy to get distracted from yourself or your partner or whatever. Like, oh, there's a shiny object over here, and then like I forget to let her know that I'm wandering over in this direction or something. And so this is our third burn together, and so this year I felt the most connected with her throughout the entire experience, and I did things to ensure that we were staying together. Like I created a totem I created a totem for her bike, and so totems at festivals are uh, they're usually objects that you connect to some type of pole, and you can put it up really high so that you and your friends could all stay together because it's really easy to get lost and like, oh, where did my people go? And so you have this big totem. You can't do this at most concerts because you're not gonna they're not gonna let you in with this equipment. But I built this totem that went 10 feet in the air, and it's this big Cheshire cat light up neon sign. It's got the eyes and the smile. Like if you watch Alice in Wonderland,
Yeah.
then you know what I'm talking about, and you can go YouTube it if you're like, I kind of remember that. So I and I have a picture of her riding her bike at night, so I put it on there, and so many times I end up leading the pack at Burning Man. Like, oh, let's go see this DJ. It's 2 a.m. and one of the best DJs on the planet is playing over here. And normally it's like you're just trying to keep with your group. So I put this big neon sign on her bike. And so like she became the central hub. So even though like I'm usually the one pulling ahead and saying we're going this direction, like I'm able to, it made it easier to track on her where she is. And then everyone else is tracking on my wife. So it was like, oh, we were leading our camp around Burning Man as a team, as a like a dynamic team. And so that felt really good in our teamwork. And also, there's a lot of really scantily clad women. I mean, I'm sure you notice if you look at some pictures, just being very, very vigilant of like, this is my woman.
Yeah. Yeah. I straight.
Yet, yes, I will see them, but there is really no reason for me to linger,
Yeah.
And so, and my out of all the women I've ever been with, she's definitely demands my attention more than anyone else ever has, and it's been really healthy for me. And so, the
How
playa.
so? If you don't mind me asking.
The thing is I am somebody who tends to get my way. And it takes a very strong person to resist whatever it is that if I really desire something, then it's very hard for someone to tell me no. And so in previous relationships, I was able to like and this happened in business relationships, this happened in romantic relationships. And I over time, I've had to learn how to really check myself and go, am I bulldozing people here? And so the women that I dated in the past were either a bit passive, or even if they weren't passive, they didn't really care if I had a wandering eye or whatever. And so I didn't never really had that reinforcement. But with my wife Ashley, she's just like, I'm your woman, period. And
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that like, yeah, there's a lot of nuance to that. It's not like it's a strict, like, I don't want you looking at other women, period. It's not coming from like a crazy place. It's more of like, Mike, you have this tendency to be very open. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I like to an unhealthy, in the past it was to an unhealthy degree. So she's helped me hone it in. And I've really learned I learned a really big lesson in Vipassana, 10 hours a day, 10 days of meditation, to really be able to notice how lazy I was before that meditation retreat, where I would let my mind wander into things that were just not helpful, like
Unproductive.
wander off. And like, how healthy is it for to allow our mind to just drift off into fantasy for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour? It's really not helpful. It's not helpful. It's not healthy. It's not taking us where we want to go. It's a bad habit. Bad is the word I want to use, but it's a habit that keeps us distracted from moving forward. And that happens in a lot of different areas of my life, not just or around women. But I noticed that resisting that desire to allow myself to just fantasize. I mean, as a man, there's who has a lot of drive.
Mm-hmm.
There's, when I was younger, there was a lot of fantasy going on. And as I've gotten older, I've learned how to hone that and go, how much time do I fucking waste in some type of fantasy? And not only that, spent so much time in fantasy that it actually kept me from taking action on romantic activities. Like I'm fantasizing about romantic activities, but I'm not actually doing romantic activities. And so this is where like porn gets is troublesome for a lot of men, is because like I stopped watching porn like 10 years ago. And one of the reasons I stopped, the thing that actually got me to stop watching it altogether, was I realized that when I didn't watch, it got better.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, oh, well, do I want real life to be better, or do I just want to get off? And I go, oh no, I want to have like an awesome life. Well, just the cutting out porn, and then also over time also cutting out any type of fantasy, and then that ends up leading to, I really don't. That woman can be scantily clad and walking by, really beautiful, really really beautiful. I can notice that she's beautiful, but I'm not going to linger. I'm not going to let that play out. And so my wife is tracking on that, and that she's just like, what are you doing? Oh. And so and I had been in an open relationship, and my previous marriage was an open relationship. And so I had to recalibrate what was normal in relationship. I and She was not interested in being in an open relationship, and I was committed to learning how to be in monogamy. And so I would say like my pendulum has swung really hard into monogamy in a way where I'm like, I don't even think about other women. I don't even let that in. And so at Burning Man, that could be extra, that there's a test there. And so this year definitely passed the test, which if I go to this extreme environment and I'm experiencing that, when I come home, having focus on my wife is even easier.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
But it
almost,
breaks a lot of people.
I could see that, and it's almost where when I mentioned to relate to that, it's marrying my accountability partner. knowing what I want the most and what I'm focused on the most, not just her as a partner, but that whole fantasy land, not just when it comes to pornography, but how many times we fantasize about our business and about the outcomes that we want, the metrics that we want to hit. And we could spend hours like, oh man, when I get this and this the other thing. All right, well, get to work in your business. And for me, my wife she'll keep me accountable for my eyes, and she'll keep me accountable for my working hours, and she also demands my attention. So I need to be attentive for the times I'm away from her with my work, because I know she's going to keep me accountable to our time together as well. And for you, I hear you're standing on business, you're standing on purpose, and you're standing in alignment into where you're going and what you're pushing forward to. And really kind of the last section of our full stack update is that purpose, is that alignment, and that drive. Sounds like through the last 7 attendance of Burning Man, or the last 7 burns, um, sounds as though this last one was the most aligned and the most purposeful, where you've gotten it dialed in, prepping beforehand, training for it, having the totem in order to still stay focused on your woman and have the whole camp know where to congregate. And then even moving forward, integrating afterwards. How has the purpose and alignment evolved from Burning Man into now, man?
Yeah, actually, in the article, I got a little bit into this. Maybe I didn't say it overtly, but I, I actually, yeah, no, I was hesitant to go to Burning Man because I was feeling so much momentum in the business and so much purpose. I was feeling like every day I have multiple projects going on right now, and every one of them light me up. And anything that takes me away from that, I'm like, it's not really worth it. And so, um, my agreement with my friends and my wife was, hey, if you guys can support me and making it easy to prepare, and like y'all are going to do a lot of the work and preparation, I'll guide, but I need to be working before. And then when we get out, I really, I'm going to help break some things down and clean up and everything, but I'm going to be sliding back to work. If you can support me there, that's the only way I'm going to go. And they wanted to go so bad that they agreed to it. And I go, great. Well, then that's how we're going to operate. I still ended up contributing on the front and the back end more than I was imagining. But yeah, I really noticed like, yeah, maybe this might be my last Burning Man for a while. So it was more of like a check of, yeah, you still got a lot of benefits from being there. And it wasn't nearly as exciting as it was in the past because I'm feeling so on purpose in my everyday life that any deviation from that it can be a bit annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And so, uh, yeah, in my article, I was like, maybe I'm taking a break here.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come back and I'll do it different in the future. But yeah, my day-to-day life feels so satisfying and so fulfilling that I don't need a quote unquote vacation. And so
Yeah.
uh, that was highlighted by going there.
I love that, man. And that's we spoke about this on the Noble Nights, of the concept of retirement, and a lot of the guys in our group and the guys I hang with, they're working a business, or they're doing something they enjoy and they love. And one of our guys, he's like, I am retired. I mean, he
Yeah.
works every day, but I am retired. But you're in a moment and in a spot in life, and you're you don't need a vacation from what you're doing, because what you're doing fires you up. And you don't do it because you need a paycheck. You don't do it because I got to put food on the table. You're doing it because it's what wakes you up in the morning. And if it's something that you're thinking about, even to the point where something like Burning Man, you're like, do I even want to go?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And in previous years, there's been times where I felt like I had obligations, which made it hard to go. And that's why I didn't go every year. This year, it didn't feel like obligations. It was just like, I literally would enjoy myself more not being at the biggest party on the planet, which was
Yeah,
kind of crazy to consider.
man, that's a sign that you're living that full stack life, brother. And all of us
That's right.
can continue to live in purpose, live with vitality and sovereignty moving forward. That's Mike. I'm Ted. Go out there, guys, and live a full stack life.